Hello, friends. This is going to be a unique yoga class. And I say that because I got a request for a hands-free yoga practice. Maybe you have carpal tunnel and you can't put any pressure on your hands and wrists. Maybe you broke a wrist. Maybe you're having some trouble with shoulder impingement, that putting any sort of weight and even like a modified plank is killing you. But you still want to do some yoga. There are ways to work around that. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do hands-free yoga. So when we come to the floor, we will be doing it in sort of a unique fashion. And I want you to just be open, because part of our practice needs to be highly adaptive, right? So if something gets hurt, we shouldn't just turn off our practice. We should be like, what can I do? How can I keep moving? How can I make yoga work for me in this current situation I'm in? Some of us have had a lot of injuries that we've had to deal with, and some of us, it might be an injury for the first time, and we're kind of puzzled about how to go forward. So what we're going to do together is figure out how to do some yoga that's meaningful, that feels validating, but does not put any pressure on our hands, wrists, elbows, or shoulders. How about that? So we're going to start at the top of the mat. A lot of what we do today is going to be hands at heart center or hands at our hips. And you get to decide what makes sense for you. And if I forget and I raise my arms or whatever, you can ignore me, or you can experiment with taking your hands overhead. It really depends on what your situation is. If you've got a shoulder impingement, you're not going to want to do that, right? So just be mindful about what your body's telling you and roll with it, okay? So we'll take a big breath in and a sigh out. Let's do that again. Big breath in and a sigh out. Now, instead of raising our hands before we forward fold, we're just going to take a big breath in to prepare, and then forward fold from here. Hands are coming at the chest level. They can release gently towards the ground. You don't have to put any weight on your hands. We're just hanging, and then we'll let the chin hang. Maybe you shift your hips side to side. Maybe you decide to widen your feet a little bit and just find a little shifty here. But again, no pressure on your hands. And then we're going to lift up halfway. So your elbows can come to your thighs. Hands can be right together here. And then we're going to fold softly again. And then as you roll up, hands to heart center. I know you're going to feel limited, but just embrace it, okay? So big breath in to prepare. No need to lift the hands, and then exhale, forward bend. Softly there. Halfway lift. Hands can be out in front of you, elbows on your thighs. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Shoulders roll up and down, hands to heart centered. Big breath in to prepare. Exhale, fold. Hands come down, chin tucks in. Lift up halfway. If it works for you, you can bring your hands lightly to your legs, but make this be about your legs, not your hands putting pressure and taking body weight. And then exhale, round all the way up. Hands to heart center. We're going to take our hands to our hips now. We're going to take a big breath in to lengthen our spine. And then we're going to take a little twist to the right. So just let your shoulder lead. And then as you exhale, come back to center. Inhale to prepare. And then exhale. I'm letting my hips rotate with my spine, because you guys that know me know that my back and I are constantly fighting, especially in my SI area. So back to center. Inhale, hands to heart center to prepare. Exhale, forward bend, release the hands. We're going to come up halfway. Fold again. And then inhale all the way up. Shoulders roll back, hands to heart center. Now remember, we're doing things a little bit differently, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. So take a breath in. Exhale, and then you're going to inhale and lift your left knee up in front of you. Ooh, my balance is going to be challenged today. I can tell already. So we're taking a moment here, and then you're going to step your left foot back, widen out your stance, and then you're going to bring your left knee to the ground. So go nice and slow. And then you're going to bring your right knee underneath you. Yes. And then the left foot steps forward. Ooh, yeah. And then the right knee is going to lift. So tuck your toes, come up, right? breathe. And then we're going to take a breath in, step forward, chair pose. So take a breath to prepare. Long in the spine. Exhale, twist towards the right. See how my left knee is pulling forward because I'm keeping my spine and my hips together. And then back through center. Take a breath in, lengthen. Exhale, twist towards the left. Let your knee and hips do what they need to do. Back through center, lift all the way up. Exhale, hands to hips. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Standing twist. Maybe you look over your shoulder this time. Then you come back through center. Inhale, lift to prepare. Exhale, twist. Maybe you look over your shoulder a little bit this time. And then back through center. Inhale, exhale. And then we got the right leg lifting up. Hands can be at heart center. Breathe. And then take that leg back behind you. Slowly find the floor with your toes. Hands are still at heart center. Adjust your stance so that you feel strong. Now you're going to bend your right knee until it touches the ground. Just nice and slow. You can put a pad underneath your knee if that's problematic for you. Untuck the toes if you like. And then this knee is coming back behind you. Take a couple steps to get there. Ooh, yeah. Take a moment. Breathe. And then right foot's coming forward. You're going to untuck the left knee, tuck the left toes, and come up into a crescent. Really nice. Big breath in. And then you're going to step forward into chair. Yep. And then take a breath to prepare and lengthen. And then exhale, twist. And if you like this time, elbow can come down a little bit. But soften the hands, right? We don't need to crush them together. And then you're going to come back through center. Inhale. Exhale, twist. Maybe duck the elbow if it feels okay in your body. Then back in through center. Release the hands. You're in a perfect place for a deep knee bended forward fold. You can lift your hips up if that feels good to you, but it doesn't feel that great to me, so I'm just going to be moderate here. And then roll all the way up, hands to your hips. Big breath in, squeeze the glutes, and explore a little back bend. And then as you come back up, hands to heart center, chair pose. Really nice. So you're going to take your right foot and step it back into that crescent. Big breath in, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Back to center. Step the right foot forward, chair pose. And then you're going to step the left foot back, find your crescent, and then add the twist. Really nice. Back to chair pose. Land as softly as you can, and then rise up. Couple shoulder rolls going back, couple shoulder rolls going forward, and then hands back to heart center. So we're going to add a little bit more movement here. We're going to challenge our low body. We're going to just really focus on fluidity to the best of our ability. So let's lift the right knee up. Exhale as you take the leg back. Take a breath in to prepare. Exhale, lower the knee towards the floor and then bring it back up. Maybe you need to walk your left foot over like I do. Big breath in. Exhale, lower the knee. Inhale, lift. Step forward. All the way up. Hands to your hips. Maybe a little in between or back bend, right? And then as you come back, hands are going to come to heart center because we're going to float the left knee. Find some strength and stability here. And then as you start to float the leg behind, be really mindful about bending the knee, finding your strong, capable stance before you start messing around with lowering the back knee. So big breath in to prepare. And then exhale, lower. Inhale, back up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, back up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, back up. And then step forward into chair pose, release. Take a couple moments here. Maybe you bring your hands back. Let's not interlace our fingers unless you really want to. Palms towards each other, squeeze your shoulder blades towards each other and just point your fingers down, squeeze your glutes, and then a little lean back. So your glutes are going to help stabilize your low back. Maybe you lift your chin, maybe you don't, and then you come back forward, hands to heart center. Whew. Now I know what you're thinking. Can we do something other than crescent? Absolutely. We're going to take a moment here. We're going to take a breath. Then you're going to float the right knee up. Got to do some balance here, friends, but be careful. You don't want to be unbalanced and fall and hurt something that's already hurt. So take your time. You can step your toes down and then start walking them back, right? Claim your warrior two. So left foot is forward, hands are at heart center. And then you're going to tilt forward. You should feel an uptick of sensation here in your thigh, right? So nothing crazy. And again, this is for people with wrist and shoulder and elbow things. So we're not taking our arms over our head. But if you're dying to, you can. You don't need to though. Let's just be where we are. And then you're going to come up and then sexy transition to the other side. So you're coming into warrior two to the right, tilting to the side and seeing if you can feel an uptick of sensation here in your right inner thigh. And then you're going to come up, turn both sets of toes to the long side of your mat, and then hands are going to come to your hips. I want you to use your fingers to sort of gauge this forward tilt. I'm going to need to bend my knees, and I'm going to come forward maybe just above level. And then you can experiment with lengthening your legs a little bit. But I just want you to feel some increased sensation on the backs of your thighs. And then we're going to tilt all the way back up, left toes turn back, and then we're going to bring hands back to heart center. Now this is hands free. So I want you to really focus on what your legs are telling you. We often ignore them because we're like, my arms are getting tired. So I want you to think, my arms are not going to get tired. So I'm going to straighten my left leg and I'm going to hinge, just like I'm coming into triangle, but my hands are staying here. So what can we focus on? Right shoulder opening. And then we can also focus on that big toe mound of your right foot or left foot pushing down. So you should feel some stuff here. And you should not need to open your arms because the leg is enough. And then you're going to tilt up, turn the left toes forward, turn the right toes to the back of your mat, and then we're going to explore triangle with no hands. So straighten the leg, tilt, and then same operation here. Left shoulder trying to spin open a little bit. Big toe mound of your right foot pressing down. So we're not folding open and lifting our arch off the ground. This should feel pretty sensational to you and good and interesting. And then we're going to bend the knee, turn both sets of toes to the long side of the mat, release your hands to your hips. And here's where you can do a couple things. You can squeeze your glutes and find a back bend. You can squeeze your glutes and find some sort of a minimally extensive star pose, right? Or you can continue with that forward bend journey where we're just sort of stopping about halfway and letting our legs feel what they're feeling. And if you're like, nah, I want to come all the way down, keep your hands at your hips. See what you can do here. Or if it's easy for you to release your hands and not put any pressure on them, I suggest putting the backs of your hands down. You're less likely to put pressure on them if your palms are open to the ceiling. So nod your head, yes. Should be feeling some stuff, but then when you rise, your hands come back to your hips and you use your core and your legs to lift back up. You're going to turn your left toes to the top of the mat, walk it over so you can step home. 2 or 3 steps to get there is fine with me. Hands to heart center. Big breath in. Exhale. And then one more round of standing postures and we'll hit the floor. Okay, not hit the floor, but we'll go to the floor. So let's take the left knee up this time. Step the left leg back, ground your foot, widen. You know I like wide hips, right? So hips and feet wide here in Warrior One. That's for my back, not for any other reason. And then we're just kind of hanging out here in Warrior One. I want you to feel strong. Squeeze the left glute for me, not with your hand, but with your mind. And then just sort of hang out here for a second. And then you're going to tilt forward. This is a beautiful way to add some extra load here to the outside of your right leg and to feel a little bit of activation. Then you're going to lift up, turn to the ball of your left foot, step to the top of the mat, and then we're going to lift the right knee up. So you're going to take the right knee up. This is good for our balance work, but remember, toe can come down and you can kind of step your way back until you feel stable in Warrior One. And again, I'm going to say this until I croak. But these twisting kind of poses that are problematic for low back situations, let your spine and hips go together. So that would mean me not cranking my shoulders square to the top of the mat and have my hips be open. I'm just going to turn slightly open to the top right corner of my mat and be cool with that. Pressing back into the right foot, feeling my right glute squeeze, and then leaning ever so slightly forward to increase the load on the outside of my left leg. That should feel noticeable, but not crazy, like we're not trying to kill ourselves. And then you're going to turn to the ball of your right foot and step home all the way up. Whew. When we step back these next 2 times, I want you to think wider creates space, okay? So you're just going to step the left foot back. You don't have to lift the left knee up. Walk your right foot over a little bit. Hands are going to be at heart center, or you can come to your hips. You're going to hinge forward and start bending the right knee. See if you can rest your shoulder on top of the knee. And then come out of it, straighten. We're going to bend the right knee first, hinge, and then without just dumping your chest down, can you bend the knee for me? And then see if you can lower the shoulder. Woo! And then you're going to come up, and you're going to turn to the ball of your left foot, step forward, and then right foot back. So remember, wide creates space. It creates room for your chest to come forward without cranking on your low back. So you're bending, you're pressing, hands to heart center. You're going to hinge, and then you're not going to cheat, right? You're going to bend this left knee and explore bringing your shoulder to the top of your knee. And if you're not there, you're not there. It's no big deal. And then you're going to come out of it and straighten. Whew. And then we're going to do it again. Bend the knee. Feel the back leg helping support you. Hinge forward. Uptick of sensation. And then we don't just fold. We bend and softly place. So this is a variation of a humble warrior here. And then we're going to come all the way up and turn to the long side of our mat. So I like to bend in and out of my knees here. Little hip circles. Now, we are going to have an opportunity to try a little more humble warrior before we go to the floor. So I'm going to let you decide if hands to your hips, hand to heart center, or hands back behind you makes sense. Okay, so let's turn back to the top of the mat. Have you noticed we haven't gone to the floor? That's on purpose. Okay, so no chaturangas, no cobras, no locusts. We can do some locusts at the end that won't be weight bearing on our hands, but we're just going to keep them out of the flow that we're doing. So left foot forward this time, pressing back. You're going to start to bend wherever you want your hands. Again, you can have your hands back in parallel, bend into your knee, and then instead of your shoulder coming down on top of the knee, have it come inside of the knee, right? So you may need to walk your left foot over. So hinge, bend, drop, right? Where do you want to go? Where do you need to go? And then you're going to come up, and instead of stepping forward, flip it, okay? So you're going to turn to the back of your mat. Right foot's going to be forward. Hands are going to come back behind you, hips or heart center. And then we're going to explore humble warrior here. So bend the knee first. Hinge forward. Start to see if you need a little more space by widening. And then as you bend and drop, where can you find space? And we're not using our hands to hold us up. We're using our legs. And then we release. Whoo, turn to the long side of our mat. And then I'm going to hula hoop. You do you. Whew. So that should feel like you've done some stuff, right? And you're really just keeping this upper body area out of it because it needs a break. But we're still doing some yoga. We're still breathing, right? So let's turn to the top of our mat. Step home. Kick it out. And then I don't want you to have to get back up again. So we're just going to do one more standing set of postures before we go to the floor. I'm just going to keep harping on your balance, right? So for those of you that are like, if I try to do traditional tree pose with this situation I've got going here, here, or here, I'm going to keel over. This is for you. You're going to take your toes to a block and externally rotate your knee. And this is tree pose. Now you've got your knee up. You're in the same expression, except you do not need to be floating in space. But if you want to be, you can. Or if you feel safe, you feel stable, just find a reasonable tree. One that you can relax in, one that you could sort of take your hands down and behind you in maybe, interlace your fingers or just have them parallel. Or you could be out in like a gentle mudra, right? Or just sort of working on balance. And then when you come out of these balance poses, maybe you can see my right foot's just like, you do it on your terms, right? So you just gently release. And then we're going to the other side. And again, start here maybe, right? If you're like, I don't know, I'm just feeling nervous about falling, then this is the same shape. And you've got your foot and your other foot on the ground. It's no big deal. You can experiment with floating the toes. And then if you're like, uh-oh, that's scary, foot back down. But if you're sort of like, maybe I'll put my foot lower, or maybe I'll bring my foot, get out of here, block. I'll bring my foot to the ground, but I just want no block. This is a beautiful tree pose. It allows you to kind of just use your monkey toes to help support you, right? And then you can calm, find your mudra, give yourself a hug. If you change your arms, it'll change the pose. And you could be here and then just tilt your eyeballs up to see if you can see in your own eyebrows, and then you will add some instability. Just doing that. Don't lift your head, lift your eyeballs and see if you can see the ridge of your eyebrows. That's enough. But then if you want, you can look up. Woo! And then you're like, how does that change it so much? Because yoga is magic. And then you release out of it. And then we're going to head to the floor. I want you to get to the floor safely, okay? So we're going to come all the way down to the floor. Little bound angle, palate cleanser, okay? And then we're going to take the legs long in front of us. So if you were in a place where pressing your hands into the ground for staff pose worked for you, what would you do if you couldn't push your hands into the ground? You take your hands to heart center, your hands to your hips, and then you could still work on lengthening your heels and lengthening your spine, but this becomes more about your core stability than pushing your body weight into the ground. So it makes you aware of the pieces of your body that you're using and not using. So I'm squeezing my quads, lifting my spine, and I'm feeling some work, okay? And then we're gonna softly come down onto our backs. Ooh, knees bent. Just because you've got some upper body issues doesn't mean you should not play around with your lower body, especially your posterior chain, right? So we're gonna do a couple bridges here just to get you in the mood. So just lift and lower a couple times. And then you're gonna cross your left ankle over your right knee. Let the leg open on its own. And now here's where it gets fun. You're gonna lift your hips off the ground here in a figure 4. That makes it a little juicy, right? And if you're using your elbows to stabilize you, that shouldn't be problematic for your body, but you can always just sort of be soft, but you can also sort of press down into your triceps to help lift your hips. Yes, we're still holding, and then down, and then uncross. Right ankle crosses over the left, let your knee open the amount it wants to, and then lift your hips. Can you tell if your right hip is dropping? Can you level it out? You can lift your head and look and then lay it back down. Woo, I feel a lot more on the outside of my right hip. But my arms are just kind of doing their thing, right? They are not taking any weight. This does not feel great, but it feels like it's helping some stuff. So then you lower down and then you bring your knees in and you give yourself a little hug. And then we're gonna do some one-legged things, and then we're gonna flip onto our bellies. So we're gonna bring our feet back to the earth. My preference is hip width or shoulder width with your feet, maybe a little turnout, and then you're gonna lift up. And then if you're going to lift one leg, do you need to move the other leg in a little bit closer? I don't know. So if I asked you to bring all your weight into your left leg and then float your right leg up, how would that work out for you? Point your toes or flex your toes, but keep your legs level with each other. Ooh, this is a lot. Then you're going to bend your knee, you're going to bring your hips down and release your left glute. And then same thing here. Bring a lot of weight into your right foot, so much so that you can lift your left leg with no problem. Press up with your hips, point your toes or flex your toes, and then see if you can level your hips out. Ooh, it's going to feel like a lot. I'm shaking. I haven't done this for too long. So just pause here, enjoy that it's feeling like a lot, and then bring your foot down, hips down. Woo! Windshield wiper, that business, okay? Now, I would be remiss if I didn't do my favorite bridge option, which is toes up, heels down. So we're going to walk our feet out just a little bit further than we would for our regular bridge, because I'm going to ask you to lift your toes and then lift your hips. And then you might just sort of shimmy your shoulders so they are flat and connected, and then squeeze inward with your thighs and then pull back with your heels. And then you should feel all sorts of yummy glute activation here. Breathe, breathe, breathe though. So if you're like, you're doing too much, you should just pull back enough that you're like, yep, I feel that's hamstring territory. And then release down. Ugh. Maybe you pick a leg up and you roll your ankle around a little bit, and then you're going to flip over onto your belly. Okay, so again, this is about no weight bearing on the hands, arms, and shoulders. So we're going to come into a locust, because you know I'm obsessed with keeping your back strong. So take the backs of your hands to the ground, square your shoulders, lift your chin up, float your toes, and then just float your arms off the ground. And then once your arms are floated, rotate your palms down. Okay? We're just hanging here. And if you're feeling a lot of compression in the low back area, lower the toes. You are not going to win any prizes for turning your body into a U shape. You will win a prize if you can hold this and activate your belly at the same time and still breathe. How about that? What's your prize? More yoga. Should be able to move your head. If you want to bring your hands up towards the top of your mat and bring your fingertips down to support you, that's fine with me. But again, it's not weight bearing. It's just stabilizing. But you can do whatever you want. And then just keep holding here. It's going to be longer than you want, but I'm still going to have you work your glutes coming inward, thighs coming inward. Breathe, belly in. I want you to find a little bit of an edge here. Still hanging out, still hanging out. But we're not cranking so much that we're in distress. And if you start to feel in distress, start to lower your feet down a little bit, lower your chest down a little bit. You're hovering over the ground. 3, 2, 1. Hands back, turn your face in one direction. Really nice. Whew. Wasn't that fun? I enjoyed it. And then you are going to have to bring your hands around and just maybe turn onto your side. Use your elbow and forearm to lift up. Again, no pressure on your wrists. And then we're going to sit in Sukhasana, easy seated pose, palms open, backs of your hands on your knees. And then I want to see if you notice if you have a propensity to putting one foot on top or one shin in front. I do. I always put the right knee in front. So I want you to just enjoy that for a second. See which side that you layer just naturally, and then we're going to switch it. And then I want you to see if it feels weird to you. So we're just kind of chilling here, palms open, jaw loose, belly soft, right? So we're not like cranking anything. And then I want you to switch it. So put the opposite foot on top and put the other leg on the bottom, and then resettle your hands. This feels funky to me. I know it's not that big of a deal, right? But doing crisscross applesauce the opposite way might send some different signals into your brain, and that's actually a good thing. It creates neuroplasticity, which is new connections in your brain. It keeps your brain fresh, young, and active. That's why yoga is so important. And it's important for you to do different things as much as you possibly can, because that keeps this working. Okay. And the more elastic our brains are, the longer we have really great cognitive abilities, and we prevent things like dementia and hopefully downstream Alzheimer's, right? There's not one magic pill for that, but keeping your brain healthy and keeping it active and challenging it and creating new pathways, that's one of the huge elements, right? That's why people do Sudoku. I can't because I don't like number games and they make me feel dumb. But I like to do other things to keep my brain healthy, like learning a new language. So I am working on my Espanol right now. I'm not going to teach a class in Spanish, I promise. That would be insulting to native Spanish speakers. But let's take a moment here. We're sitting in that weird orientation, and then we're going to bring our hands to heart center. So you can bring your legs back to wherever you feel most comfortable, right? And we're just going to do a little seated twist. So this seated twist is going to involve the back of your hand. We're doing a lot of back of the hand awareness today, just because it's something fun to do and a different approach to some of our standard things that we normally just don't even think about. So right hand's going to come to your hip, left back of your hand to the top of your right knee. And then just use the back of that hand to gently hold you in place as you rotate. You're not pressing it in to crank your shoulder forward, but it's just sort of like a stabilizer. And just see how that feels. And then you're going to come back into center, release if you need to, and then left hand to your hip, back of the right hand to your top of the knee, right on the left. And here's the thing, if you need to release your left hand, that will help the twist be more accessible. So I'll just give you the side view. So instead of this, you can go here. And again, this is stabilizing, not weight bearing. So you're just tickling your fingers on the ground. This twist is for your thoracic spine and up. So you should be feeling it, rib cage and up, not down here. No cranking the lumbar spine or the SI joint, man. That's just bad news. It's not going to work out well for us if we do that. All right, so then we're going to come back into center. Ooh, a couple shoulder rolls. And then one more time with a little seated stretch. So those of you that have practiced with me a little bit know that I have a preference for external rotation of my femurs, like taking my legs wider than more narrow. So I want you to think about, if you're going to do head to knee pose, Janu Shirshasana, would it be better for you to have your leg coming out straight, have it come out a little open, or do you want to turn it into more of a wide-legged expression? Either way, your chest is going to orient down the leg, right? So if you were here, you'd be here. If you're here, you'd be here. And I just want you to see where your body is leaning today, pun intended. So I'm going to turn my chest as best I can towards this extended leg, try to keep my back neutral and straight, and then round forward when I hit its limit. And then where should you be feeling this? In your leg, and a little bit, if you're like me, in the outside edge of your left side body, okay? But if you're here, and you're a little more straightforward, you might feel a little awareness in your back, but friends, please be careful about cranking your back to get your chest closer to your thigh. I would rather you be more upright and actually take your back out of this and have it be 98% leg than do this kind of business where you're like, "Bleh," and your back is on fire, right? Don't cheat your way into a forward fold. Just be in the forward fold that you need to be in. And then we're going to come up out of it. And if you're doing no hands, you shouldn't be holding on and cranking on things anyway. So again, straight ahead, slightly open, totally open. Turn your chest down that way. Hinge forward with a straight back. And if you're doing the wide leg option, you will feel this here, but concentrate most of the sensation in the leg. So if you're cranking and pulling and pressing yourself down, that's not what we're in for. So I would rather you tent your fingers and just lean, and then maybe dig your heel in a little bit to activate the back of your leg to protect it. And then you can soften down. But then again, you're like, ooh, that's too much back, Brandy. And I'm like, I get you. So take a little bit forward, and then see how high up I am? I'm not bringing my head to my knee in this pose. Just because the pose is called that doesn't mean we have to do that, right? And then we're going to come back out of it, and then a little bit of bound angle, right? Baddha Konasana. I just like bound angle. And I want you to think about, like, if this cranking your heels into your undercarriage, I talk about it all the time. If this is killing your knees, can you let your feet come forward a bit? And then if you want to increase the stretch in your hips, you neutralize the spine. Instead of doing this, immediately come here and then come here, right? So you can invite the back to the party, but make sure you're doing it intentionally. We've all done that before, where you've accidentally invited somebody to something and you're like, ooh, I didn't mean to invite you to that. Or maybe it was just me. I did that with my bridal shower, by the way. What an idiot. Anyway, that's a story for another day with a cocktail or something. But as you come into this little bound angle, I want you to think, what do you need from this stretch? Do you need to soften out of it? Do you need to give yourself some grace and be like, man, I got a lot going on. I just need to find some softness in my life. I totally get it. So legs are going to go long, and you're just going to slowly lower yourself to the mat. Just take a moment, maybe press your toes away from your body and give them a little wiggle. Just become aware of your arches here. You can do a little finger movement and stuff. That might feel good, right? You shouldn't hyper protect areas that are kind of mad at you, but pain is your number one indicator of whether what you're doing is a good idea. If it hurts, stop doing it, especially if something's injured, right? You're not going to push through it and be like, oh, I had 10 minutes of pain, but now I'm better. Typically, your body's like, you're an idiot. Why didn't you listen to the first 5 minutes of pain, the first 5 seconds of pain? Now we're in a worse situation. And yeah, that's how my body talks to me, because I routinely ignore it. So let's bend our knees, bring our feet to the ground, widen your feet, and then let your knees fall towards each other. Now, this may work better for you if you crawl your toes forward and take a little bit of that pressure out of your outer thigh and outer hips. And if you don't like this at all, you don't have to do it. It's just a little different way to kind of calm our bodies. And then we're going to bring our knees into our chest, and then take our legs up towards the ceiling. For me, with the state of my hamstrings these days, it's better for me to lightly hold onto my legs. And again, not cranking, not putting a ton of weight or pressure into my hands, my wrists, my elbows, or my shoulders. And you can have your elbows on the ground, and you don't have to have your hands touching your legs at all. But what I do want is your low back to be pressed into the earth, right? And if you need to, let your feet come forward. If you want straight legs here, your feet may have to come forward. And then you're going to have to turn your low belly on. And that ain't a bad thing. But you're just going to have to sort of manipulate your way through some of these poses to see what works best. One thing may have to give for another thing to come in. So if I'm like, no, my priority is like legs straight, then I'm going to have to bend my knees, like straight up towards the ceiling. Because I can't have both. I can only have one. And then you're going to bring your left foot to the ground and just keep your right foot up and do some ankle rolls here. Both ways around. Press your toe forward and back. Then you're going to press it in like you're pigeon-toed, and then turn it out like you're duck-footed. And then a couple more rounds and bring that foot to the ground. And then lift your left leg up, press forward and back a couple times. You should be getting some sort of feedback, a couple ankle rolls. And then let's explore pressing forward, pressing inward, and then pressing out. Right? Just a little bit of activation, that kinetic chain on the backside of your leg and down into your foot. And that knee comes to the earth, and then we relax. Now, here's where I don't particularly think it's valuable for you to be silent for 10 minutes for Shavasana. So if you're in the market for any amount of Shavasana, which I think you should be, I'm going to stop talking in a minute, and then you can hit pause and you can take whatever amount of Shavasana you want, and then you can unpause it and you can say goodbye to me in our namaste way, or you can just end now. It's up to you. But how do you get out of this without putting a lot of weight on your arms and wrists and stuff? Let's just turn to the side and then press into the ground gently to lift up. And maybe as you end, you're like, well, I feel like I was limited with my upper body and my arms and hands, but I want to do something fun at the end. Then maybe explore a little bit of half lotus or fire log or cow face, right? And then you can switch and do the other side if you're doing a one-legged thing, or you can just let it be what it is, right? And then we can bring our hands to our heart space and just be grateful for the body parts that are working today, right? It's easy to be frustrated when we're hurt, injured, sick, just not feeling the way we normally do. But those moments, I'm telling you, friends, are a gift because they are teachers. They are teachers. They let us feel our body in different ways. Let us focus on different parts of our bodies that we normally wouldn't pay attention to. I'm going to switch to go the other way because I'm just obsessed with equality of opportunity here in my body. So I want you to think about, what is this injury? What is this limitation trying to teach me? Maybe it's a little bit of humility. Maybe it's a little bit of compassion for other people that have limitations that they live with every day, and yours is only temporary. And I get it. It's frustrating. I've been super frustrated with injuries in the past, and I've been overwhelmed with feeling sort of resentful to the powers that be about it. But I'm having a different attitude towards that as I age, because it really has taught me more than I could have learned without it. So I wish you healing if you're hurt. I wish you recovery if you are on that path. And I wish you patience for both of those things, because it will come. And just do what you can. If it hurts, don't do it. And then we will continue to practice together as much as we can, however we can. Namaste, my friends.